We see you taking the big swing, trying to get Gabe out here. After you speak to Caroline, though, had you switched your vote to Rachel?
I think genuinely that it was going to be Rachel regardless of what I did because clearly I had no numbers via the blind side. That was unanimous. But I personally think that if it came down to it and Rachel was still there and everyone else decided to vote Rachel, I still would have wanted to put a vote on Gabe because it would have proved to the other merged people that I'm not a part of Tuco anymore. Like I was willing to put when it really came down to it, I still am targeting Gabe, so it's like very consistent. And so I think that it would have been Rachel going home 4-1, but I would have wanted to use that as a strategy to make sure that it was a message to the other people who are watching that I'm a number. Like, do not consider me a part of the Tugu Five. We're not Tugu strong. And I'm proving it to you again, other than the hot dog social, again right now, that I am a number that you can work with.
So that was your plan going into Tribal pre-Rachel leaves. So when Rachel actually does leave, it looks like all of you guys are genuinely shook. Is that accurate?
So what is a little bit of tea there is that Rachel actually told me about like once she got the advantage, she told me immediately that she was gonna go. Like that she was gone and she had the advantage and that she was immune and that she was gonna leave tribal council. And so at that point I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just need Kyle and Caroline to be my ride or dies that I thought they were and just put down Gabe's name and then we have the majority. I don't even need Rachel to be there." And so I was so excited and Rachel was like, "This is your time. You can get Gabe out." And I'm like, "Oh, perfect." No,
Yeah. Perfect. Yes.
perfect. As I get my church stuff and then I'm out. So cool.
Well, that live tribal, I mean, that has to be stressful. It seemed like you were concerned about yourself. Talk me through, trying to convince Kyle and Caroline and how you felt.
Definitely. I feel like it was one of those things where I felt like I didn't have to do a lot of convincing because I already brought up the idea to both of them and it's like, let's just do it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
I really trusted them to have my back in those situations because of the bond that we created and also the alliance that Caroline and I created was very advantageous. Like we were constantly brainstorming together, we were constantly talking back and forth. And so I really felt a strong connection with her. And same thing with Kyle. My information was always trustworthy because it was like I was always telling the truth to Kyle. And so I think when it came down to when it broke out into chaos and everyone was talking to each other, I didn't feel like I needed to play my shot in the dark because I trusted them so much, but clearly not the case for whatever reason.
Right. I mean, Caroline to us seemed like she was on the bubble, but what happened to Kyle? What do you think?
I think that Kyle probably wanted to make sure that he didn't ruffle any feathers, maybe, when it came to going back to the merge beach and that he would have three people be mad at him, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what Kyle was thinking. And so that was kind of tough to see because the fact that it was unanimous, I describe it like this to my family. It was almost like I was a kindergartner and I'm just like in the sandbox and I was like waiting for someone to play with me and I'm like, play with me, let's make an awesome sandcastle together. And no one wanted to play with me. And so I'm
Mhm.
like, you can't win Survivor by yourself. You need a trustworthy alliance. And unfortunately, I just did not have that, but that's okay. Tear.
It's here. Oh. Back at the social hour, you openly talk about Gabe. Did you realize how close Sue and Gabe were, or did you think you were closer with Sue?
I did not realize that Sue was so close to Gabe at all, not even a
Mm.
little bit. Um, what set me off from Sue was when she told Gabe that I threw him under the bus before telling me. So I was like, "Oh, if we're an alliance, like why are you going straight to Gabe?" And then now throwing me under the bus, like why would I didn't say anything about you in it. So it's like clear that you're trying to defend Gabe and he's your number one kind of thing. So I was starting to like slowly piece that together, but it didn't click fast enough. It was absolutely not. I was completely blindsided with the fact that Gabe and Sue were so close. And what was really frustrating with that alliance is that obviously you need a loyal person with you. Loyalty is so, so rare and so it's a gem out there in Survivor. Like the Reba 4 was like a perfect example of a gem of a loyalty, but they were all collaborating, like they were all spitting ideas back and forth and like making sure that everyone was good with the plan. When it came to Gabe, it was almost like Gabe corralled, just like he said, he had his two injured little birds in Sue and Caroline and kind of like had them do whatever he wanted to do. And so I didn't understand like why they would be so on board with having someone tell them what to do, especially when Caroline is such an intelligent person. I know she's such an intelligent person, but like it was almost like Gabe was like the king of Tuku for some reason. And no matter what I said to them, or like how Kyle was trying to bring information to Sue, and she was like, I just want it to be positive vibes. That was exactly how Sue was. She just didn't want to talk strategy with anyone other than Gabe, apparently. So it was kind of like, yeah, it was kind of unfortunate.
But so from your perspective, you felt like you, Caroline, and Sue were a group, or was Kyle? I mean, you seemed really close to Kyle. What did you think the alliance was?
I thought that the alliance that I had that was like actually very trustworthy. This is also post the hot dog social because after the hot dog social, me and Sue were like not we
Uh-huh.
were not driving really. Like it started to get like a little rocky because she was like, aren't we all supposed to be in an alliance with Gabe? But I thought post hot dog social that I had a really good connection with Kyle and I had a really good connection with Caroline. So like Sue and Gabe could be doing their own thing, you know? Like I thought that we had the majority there and
Mhm.
that Sue still trusted me, but clearly she did not. So it was kind of like Sue and Gabe and Caroline already had me at the bottom from the jump. So I
Mhm.
I was fully wrong with that. Fully wrong with everything.
When you, okay, so when the red paint was found, were you piecing together that, oh, Sue was sketchy with some red stuff on her?
Definitely.
Did you
Definitely.
talk to anyone about that?
Yes, once we discovered the paint, I was immediately like, the only person I've ever seen with red stuff all over them is Sue. And also, her story wasn't adding up. She said she bit the back of her tongue, and oh no, I did something stupid with the machete. And when I asked her, are you okay? Like, where's the cut? She was like, oh no, like it was the back of my tongue. And then so I was like, also, that wasn't the color of blood. So I was like, okay, so clearly Sue has something. So once I put those pieces together, I actually told Caroline, and I was like, hey, the only person that we've ever seen was with red stuff is Sue. And so I thought that she was a loyal, like I thought we had a really good alliance and a really good bond, but turns out that wasn't the case. And I wish I would have blown the lid off of Sue. I at that time I thought I was protecting her because she was a good number for us in general, but not the case once again. Just absolutely wrong there.
There has to be a difference between watching Survivor and actually playing. What was the biggest surprise for you?
Oh, absolutely. I think that it's crazy because, as 18 separate entities on these islands just like playing it out, there's all these different perspectives that you don't see. Like you don't see the conversations that you don't see. Like you don't know what you don't know out there. But the audience knows everything. You know all the important conversations. You're there for every single important conversation, every single alliance. You know who's lying to who. But when you're out there, it's really just you and you have to go based off of your gut. And so it was incredibly difficult to be like, oh wow, I think that I should go this way, or I think I should sway this way because you don't know who's lying and who's not. And what was really tricky for me, really quickly, specifically with the TK vote out, is that Sue actually said stuff leading up to that, like leading up to TK like blowing up and after we lost that challenge. Um, Sue actually said things to me that went outside the game of Survivor about TK's character rather than him being a threat. And so that's why I thought, wow, she's being very vulnerable. Like me being a girl's girl, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I want you to always like feel like you're comfortable. I always want you to feel like you're good in this tribe. And so that was also another contributing factor to TK getting voted out. But it turns out after I talked to TK, none of that happened. So it was a lot. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, what was the highlight? What was this experience like for you?
Oh my gosh. This was like I told myself that I wanted to see what I was capable of. I wanted to see what came out of this. And like, you don't know what you don't know about yourself. And so when you're getting tested like this, I think it was so incredible and also earth-shattering to see how much shadow work I have and like what I want to improve on as a person and what I'm proud of because I am proud that I played like myself and I was empathetic to people and I was there for people and whenever they cried, I was a shoulder to cry on. But then at the same time, that duality piece where it's like, damn, that actually bit me in the butt because they didn't really care about you like that. You were just kind of an emotional punching bag. And so I think that wrestling with both of those identities and being able to like balance those has been very very eye-opening to me. And it's also something that I still need to work on to this day. So I think that that was like the biggest thing was that I was learning so much about the internal battles that I have with myself, and it was brought to the forefront in Survivor.
Mm. Well, I loved watching you. You are our Sagittarius representation. Love it. Adventurous, going for it. Appreciated you playing the game. And it was so lovely to talk to you today. Thank
It
you.
was so nice to talk to you too. Thank you so much for everything.